They disappear every single evening, and nobody talks about what happens next. One moment, your yard is alive. Cardinals at the feeder, chickadees moving through the maple, a robin pulling the last worm from the lawn before the light goes. And then in the space of about 20 minutes they vanish. The feeders go empty. The branches go still. The yard that was full of movement an hour ago looks like a completely different place. Where did they go? Most people assume they are somewhere nearby, roosting loosely in trees, flying around the neighborhood, doing whatever birds do when we stop watching. But what actually happens to your birds between dusk and dawn is nothing like what most people imagine. It is more specific, more deliberate, and in some ways more extraordinary than anything they do during the day. Tonight, while you are asleep, the birds in your yard will do things that would stop you completely if you could see them. Some of them will drop their body temperature on purpose to survive the cold. Some of them will pack themselves into spaces so small you would not believe a single bird could fit. And some of them, the ones you have never once thought of as travelers, will be flying hundreds of miles above your house in complete darkness. Welcome to Wild Bird Mind. Subscribe before you go anywhere, because what you are about to learn happens every single night just outside your window, completely invisible to you. And once you know it, you will never look at a quiet yard the same way again. Stay until the end, because the last thing we cover tonight happens directly above your house. Take the cardinal first. Cardinals do not travel far from where they spend their days. He is choosing the densest cover available, and the reason is not warmth. The reason is invisibility. A sleeping bird is a vulnerable bird. Dense vegetation is the closest thing to disappearing that a cardinal can manage. He will return to the exact same roost spot night after night, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months. If you have a thick evergreen shrub anywhere in your yard right now, there is a real possibility that a cardinal has been sleeping in it every single night this winter without you knowing. Now, the chickadee. Because the chickadee does something that most people find genuinely difficult to believe. On cold nights, anything below freezing, black-capped chickadees enter a state called regulated hypothermia. A chickadee weighs about 11 grams, the weight of 2 pennies. On a cold winter night, the energy available to that tiny bird is so limited that without regulated hypothermia, it might not survive until dawn. With it, it does. Night after night, through temperatures that would kill an unprotected animal of that size within hours. And where does it do this? Inside a cavity, an old woodpecker hole, a gap in tree bark, a nest box. The walls trap the warmth of its body and slow the heat loss enough to make the difference between surviving and not. When birds pack together to survive, the eastern bluebird is the best example. During breeding season, a male bluebird is one of the most territorial birds you will encounter. He defends his nest box aggressively. But in winter, that same bird will squeeze into a nest box with up to a dozen other bluebirds and sleep pressed against them through the night. Every territorial rule of spring is completely suspended. The calculation is simple. Shared body heat means survival. Isolation means risk. The nest boxes and dense shrubs you maintain are not just breeding infrastructure. On the coldest nights of winter, they are survival infrastructure. They are the difference between birds that wake up in your yard tomorrow morning and birds that do not. How birds sleep without ever fully sleeping. A sleeping bird is not switched off. Not even close.It is operating in a mode called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. One hemisphere of the brain enters a sleep state. The other stays fully active. The eye connected to the active hemisphere stays open, scanning, watching, waiting. The two hemispheres switch periodically, so both sides get rest. But the bird is never fully unconscious. Cornell Lab researchers studying mallard ducks documented this clearly. That yard you look at through your window at midnight, dark, motionless, apparently empty, is not empty at all. It is full of birds in a state of active awareness, hidden in cavities and dense shrubs, monitoring the dark with one open eye, ready to move in a fraction of a second. If anything changes, they are there. You simply cannot see them, and they are paying far more attention to the night than you are. The backyard birds you never knew were nocturnal. Most people think of their yard birds as entirely daytime creatures. Nighttime belongs to owls and nothing else. But several birds you think of as daytime visitors are doing something after dark that would genuinely surprise you. The American robin is one of them. Robins are famous early risers. What most people do not know is that robins are highly responsive to artificial light. In urban and suburban yards, robins will begin singing hours before dawn, sometimes as early as 1 or 2 in the morning, because streetlights and porch lights trigger the same hormonal response as natural sunrise. If you have ever heard birdsong in the middle of the night in a lit neighborhood, it was almost certainly a robin. The mourning dove is a different kind of surprise. But at night, they are capable of remarkable alertness. A dove sitting motionless on a branch all afternoon will launch into fast, whistling flight in complete darkness the moment a predator approaches. And that wing whistle is not just a side effect of flight. It is a communication signal. It tells every other dove nearby that something is wrong. Even in total darkness, what is flying over your house right now? This is the part that changes how you think about the sky above your neighborhood. Twice a year, the night sky above your house fills with birds. Not dozens, not hundreds. On peak migration nights in late April and early May, and again in September and October, the number of birds crossing over a single point in the eastern United States in a single night can reach into the millions. These are not exotic species from distant places. These are your birds. The ruby-throated hummingbird that will arrive at your feeder in May crossed the entire Gulf of Mexico last night. A 900-mile non-stop flight. Navigating by stars and magnetic field. Birdcast, Cornell Lab's free migration monitoring system, tracks this movement in real time using weather radar. On a peak migration night, the radar image of the eastern United States shows what looks like an enormous weather system moving northward. Not rain, not clouds, birds. This is happening above your house tonight. And on many nights this spring, the yard goes quiet at dusk. The feeder's empty. The branches go still. But what you are looking at when you see that empty yard is not absence. It is concealment. The cardinal is in your holly bush, the same spot he has used every night this winter. The chickadee is in the woodpecker hole in the oak, its body temperature dropping, its metabolism pulling back, one hemisphere of its brain still watching the dark. Somewhere above your roofline, birds you will not see until May are passing through in their thousands. This happens every single night. You have been living beside it for years without knowing the full shape of it. Now you know. And the next time your yard goes quiet at dusk, the next time the feeder's empty and the branches go still, you will know that the birds have not gone anywhere. They have just moved into the part of their lives you have never been able to see. Until now, have you ever heard birds singing in the middle of the night in your yard? Or seen something moving through after dark that you could not explain? Tell me in the comments. What was it? What time was it? I read every single one. If this video changed the way you see the yard outside your window, share it. Someone you know has been watching birds their whole life without knowing any of this. Subscribe if you haven't. Thank you for being here at Wild Bird Mind. I'll see you in the next one. Why?